I had always loved the solitude of nature. The idea of escaping the constant noise of the city, even for a weekend, felt like a blessing. That's why I booked a small, isolated cabin in Blackwood Forest. It was supposed to be a peaceful getaway. Just me, my thoughts, and the endless trees surrounding me. But I could never have predicted what would happen that night. The drive was long and winding, the dense trees on either side of the road growing taller and thicker the deeper I went. By the time I arrived, the sun had already set, leaving only the dim glow of my car's headlights illuminating the gravel driveway. The cabin stood in eerie silence, its wooden frame bathed in pale moonlight. A chill ran down my spine as I stepped out of the car, but I ignored it. It was just the loneliness of the place getting to me. Inside, the cabin was perfect. Warm wooden walls, a fireplace already set up for use, and a small kitchen stocked with enough supplies for the weekend. I unpacked my bag, made myself some tea, and decided to enjoy the crisp night air on the front porch. As I stepped outside, the forest stretched endlessly before me, silent, unmoving. The night sky above was a deep shade of black, devoid of stars. The air was unnaturally still, as if the entire world had paused. I took a sip of my tea, savoring the warmth against the cold, but something felt off. Then I saw it. A figure, barely visible, standing between the trees. It was far away, just a dark outline against the shadows. But I could feel its presence. My breath hitched. It wasn't moving, wasn't making a sound. It was just watching. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, maybe a trick of the light or an oddly shaped tree. But the longer I stared, the more I realized I was wrong. The figure had glowing red eyes, burning like embers in the darkness. They didn't blink. They didn't waver. They just stared directly at me. A cold terror gripped me. My mind screamed at me to run, but my body refused to move. I was frozen in place, trapped in that awful gaze. The figure tilted its head slightly, as if studying me. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out the silence. Then, in the blink of an eye, it disappeared. The moment it was gone, I felt the paralysis break. I stumbled back inside, locking the door behind me. My hands trembled as I clutched my phone, desperately trying to call someone, anyone. But there was no signal. My only option was to wait until morning and leave the moment the sun rose. The cabin suddenly felt suffocating, the walls too close, the windows too open. I pulled the curtains shut, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching me. Every creak of the wooden floor, every whisper of the wind outside made my skin crawl. I barely slept that night. My mind kept replaying the sight of those red eyes, piercing through the darkness. When the first light of dawn crept through the window, I wasted no time packing my things and throwing them into the car. As I pulled onto the road, I forced myself to take one last glance at the forest. It looked the same as it had when I arrived, dense, quiet, unmoving. But I knew better. Something was out there, and it was watching.